So interestingly enough, here's kind of a random thought that I just had in my mind just kind of pop up for whatever reason. And it's kind of like a double standard I've noticed, kind of like within the old IFB, where basically, let's say you're someone that's new IFB, right? And you've been attending this old IFB church now for 2 years or 4 years or several years, or just you've been going there for a substantial amount of time. And then you basically decide like, hey, I'm going to move to this new IFB church within next week or next month or whatever, and people find out about that. Like you tell the pastor about that, or people just kind of find out on their own, and they kind of look down on that, and they kind of feel like, hey, you're leaving this church, and you want to go to this other church, and they kind of interpret it like in a selfish way. They might say like, hey, you're going to be further away from your family, and that's not right, or whatever, and they just kind of like, they kind of have a bad attitude about it, and really what it comes down to is that if anything, their church is very small. A lot of people don't go to their church, and so people leaving their church when they joined, kind of, they don't like that. They don't appreciate that for whatever reason. It's just kind of an old IFB attitude that they might have of leaving a church and going to a better church that's new IFB, soul winning, all that stuff. But that being said, I do think it's interesting because these same old IFB people, if you walked up to them and you said like, hey, I'm going to be leaving this church, and I'm going to go to this other church or go to a foreign country or something, and I'm going to become a missionary, and I'm going to do all this work, and I'm going to, reach out to these specific people, this tribe or whatever, and I'm going to get those people saved, right? And I'm going to be a missionary. I'm going to be dedicated towards winning people to Christ, like as a missionary, like within, doing foreign work and that kind of stuff. Then basically they would have no issue with that. They would, if anything, they would rejoice in that. They'd be like, oh, wow, that's so great, and of course they wouldn't downplay that, right? They wouldn't say like, oh, what are you doing leaving us, you've been in this church for so long, why do you want to leave us and become a missionary at so-and-so place or whatever? At the end of the day, or, let's say like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to Bible college and it's going to be over here and I won't be able to come to this church anymore. So it's okay to leave that church if it's a Bible college situation. If it's a missionary situation, they would say like, oh yeah, that's fine, you can leave our church and do that. They're not going to downplay that. But when it comes down to just leaving their church because it sucks and they don't do any soul winning and they don't preach hard or whatever, and you want to go to a better church for your family, where people actually do go soul winning and actually do care about the things of God, apparently they kind of get upset at that and they feel like, oh, you shouldn't leave, we want you to stay here or whatever, and they can kind of frame it however they want to. But it's kind of a big double standard because in both cases, right, if anything, you're leaving that church, if you're already in the United States anyway, you'd just be moving to a different church that's in the same country, just in a different state or whatever. But yeah, if you're going to become a missionary, that means you're going to be, traveling all the way over to like the other side of the world to get people saved, right? So it's like you're traveling less miles, and yet they look down on that, so at the end of the day, it's kind of a double standard. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, why would they have an issue with it? Like, it doesn't make any sense.